78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. I didn't expect for y'all to hear my voice this morning. I am scrambling. I just came back from teaching a professional leadership coaching class. I was a co-facilitator. I've been doing that for the past 4 days. Today, I'm supposed to be joined by my big brother, Mr. Scott Garricky, and we're going to talking about another one of the books that we both read and appreciate, However.com. However.com. I called him this morning not thinking I was going to be freed up from this course because I was supposed to be teaching as we speak based on some calendar changes. However, we adjusted on the fly, right? The team and I, we adjusted on the fly this morning, and I was able to get freed up probably about 15 minutes ago. So 15 minutes ago, here I am. I'm on the road, and I'm jumping here to get here to 78.6 FM, positive vibes with Winsome. I'm so excited to be here. I've been scrambling all week. I think I told one of my teammates last night, we were doing a little a hot wash, if you will. We were talking about the day and the week. And I told her, I said, I think this week, for the first time in a long time, I reached capacity. And I'm going to tell you what that means in a little bit. But I told her, and I said, hey, just from everything I've done this week or been a part of, I started feeling and noticing certain things, right? So I'm going to tell you about that word in a minute. But before we even jump into it, 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. I want to give a shout out to all of our sponsors that support the radio show, the website, the podcast. Podcast is still standing. You win some, you lose some. Some edits dropping this evening. But what I wanted to say was 100%, man, thank you to Two Roads Leadership, Flattery Inc., Trainers Warehouse, Free Period Press. Everyone who's been completely 2RL has been amazing. That was a part of the journey I was on this week. Everyone has been just amazing and wonderful, and I'm so appreciative of all the support, love, trust, and encouragement. You guys don't see that part of it, right? You see when I come here and I'm bringing the messages, or you hear when I'm here bringing the messages to you. But I'll tell you the encouragement, the support, the belief that I can, just like you see in my website that I am, I can, and I will. Seeing coaches graduate today and being a part of their journey was extremely exciting. And we got to graduate, I believe there was 26 today, graduating from this class. And just to know that I was a part of this journey, to see these folks about to take off and do amazing things was extremely rewarding emotionally for me. It was just a very proud moment to be a part of that. I'm proud of them. I'm really excited about their future and their story. So, capacity. I know we got a lot of time, so I'm not going to speed through it. I'm going to slow down for my folks here listening in Okinawa, and you're probably listening to the station and when I'm on here because you hear me speaking English and you're practicing English, and I love that for those folks who have shared that with me. Thank you. I will slow down a little bit. I know I get excited when I get into the booth. So when you talk about capacity, for me, I'll tell you how my week went. So I woke up, and the first thing I do is I look at our calendar. And my calendar tells me I'm old school, right? I know some people use their phone for reminders. They use email reminders, Outlook. I'm old school. I got this red book that goes everywhere I go. I wish I would have brought my backpack up here with me today so I can show you. But I have a red book, and I write down every time someone invites me to speak, every class we're about to teach. And I write it down just so I don't lose track. And I look at that book every morning before I get my day started. And I'll say that if I forget that book at work or I leave it in the car, whatever, it throws me for a complete loop. But when I looked at this week, it was full. And when I say full, I mean full. So Monday, right, we had a teaching engagement. Tuesday, teaching engagement, but it's not like one where I'm going and teaching and coming back, teaching for 2 hours. No, they were lined up like back to back. And then Wednesday, I jump into this course. And on Wednesday, I'm still teaching in other places, right? So I got to go teach, come back, jump on this course. Thursday, huge opportunity to work. You probably saw the story on Facebook. But to speak life into the Navy, our teammates here at MCAS Fatima. And that was probably one of the most rewarding experiences teaching for me because I grew up in naval housing. My father and grandfather and one of my very, very loved uncles were Navy. And so to be a part of their story, to be able to give back to the Navy, maybe not by serving, but by service, it was really rewarding. I'm already part of the armed forces, but to be able to teach lessons into them and have that opportunity and see those uniforms, and it reminded me of my family. Then on Friday, I came back and I was blessed with the opportunity to speak a keynote speech to our Airman Leadership graduates on Kadena. This is in addition to teaching being a co-facilitator for the leadership coaching course. So every day that I'm mentioning, I'm jumping back and forth. What I found myself is that I'm supposed to give a speech, wasn't supposed to be until the following week. And I get a call, and the teammate says, hey, Senior Cully's what they call me, my rank and last name. And I say, hey, what's up, teammate? And the young man who's running point on the graduation, he says, hey, we have to shift because of a possible typhoon. We have to adjust. Can you do Friday? Now, this is Thursday. Now, on Friday at what time? And he says, tomorrow at 4:30. Can you be here around 4:15 to give a 5-minute speech to our graduates? So now I got to wrap my head around teaching these other classes, co-facilitating an executive leadership course, and now preparing for a 5-minute speech. Now, for a lot of people, preparing for a 5-minute speech, it could be a weekend project. It could be 2 days to do it. You know, they're going through searching for powerful quotes and all this stuff. For me, I realized I needed to pull in my experiences from these young folks, try to tie in stories, try to make it meaningful. And of course, if I have an opportunity to speak, I want it to be unique from any other speaker that's going to be talking that day. So I put all these things together in my mind in between classes, and I had to come up with something for them, specifically tailored for them, and walk into the room and present it. So I walk into this graduation coming cold off of the leadership coaching course. And I will be 100% honest with you. I had, from the moment I finished co-facilitating to the moment I was on stage, to put my words and thoughts together and present a speech that was all of those things I mentioned before. Captured our story, was impactful, and was unique, right? And so I did it. I got through it. And even at the end, I was like, and my sister who's in the room, she always gives it to me 100. She was like, that wasn't the 100% of you. I was like, but it's all I had left. Right? It's all I had left. And I told her this last night as we're rehashing the week. I said, I think for the first time in a long time, just go. I hit capacity. Not burnout, but capacity. And she's like, what do you mean? I said, I think just for this week, for this window of time, that was my threshold for this week. Co-facilitating, speaking engagements, teaching, and then landing with a speech to end the week on a Friday at 4:30. After all of that, that was definitely my threshold. For now, of course, or my capacity, for now. I know a lot of people will be like, well, you know, there's other people who do more, do a lot more. They struggle. They wake up, they're working longer hours, whatever, cool. But for me, at 44 years old, serving and giving, and everything I do, I pour my heart into it. I was at capacity that day. And so I know I had to wake up today, and let's keep that story going. So I finished with that speech, and then I opened up my book, and I noticed I got an email from my teammate that says, I'm teaching today at 10. So as I'm talking to my little sis, and we're establishing today's movements, right? And I just told her I'm at capacity, and now I got to figure out the weekend because I'm teaching this morning, and I have the radio show this morning. 2 things I love. I got to make a decision. I said, I got 3 options. Watch this. I'm not making this up. This really happened. I said, listen, I got 3 options, right? I can call FM Yomatan and tell them, hey, I can't make it. I'm teaching. Or I can let the teaching, the facilitate, the company that they're trusting me with their time and my time, and say, hey, I'm on my radio show. What I love to do, I love speaking life. I can't make it to teach today, even though I promised you I would help you out and co-facilitate. I can't make it. Third option, I bring my laptop in here an hour and a half before, test it out on this table, and see if I can bridge the two. What does bridge the two means? It's facilitating a session, right? Facilitating a session while hosting a radio show. That was option 3. So I'm racking my brain. I woke up this morning, had to be 6:30, still spinning. I'm realizing that FM Yobaton, as much as I love what I present do, love this audience, I love this opportunity, I had made that promise to teach, so I needed to keep my promise. I was going to call this morning and say, hey, I'm not going to make it. I'm so sorry, I'm teaching. It broke my heart because I would rather be nowhere else than in the booth doing something I love and speaking life. But I'll tell you how it worked out, which is amazing. When I got there on this morning and logged in and I'm speaking, overnight, the schedule had changed. The schedule has shifted. And with the schedule shift, as soon as I logged in thinking I'm just listening in and shadowing, I'm teaching. And this started at 7. And I'm like, 7 o'clock, I'm teaching. Hey, what are we doing right now? What's shifted? So my 7 to 8 ended up being because, I didn't know I was teaching, so they were already going. I started moving at like 7:30. And 7:30, the discussion was so, amazing. The folks did a really great job of pulling out questions and keep me on my feet. I was role playing. And that discussion ended up taking 2 hours. And then the follow-up to the discussion took about 40 minutes. And if 7 to 9, 9 to 9:40, I'm supposed to be on a radio show at 10. So it was wonderful the way it played out. I type into everyone who's in the class and say, hey, my time with you has been amazing. I'm so blessed. I'm so grateful for this time. You guys are wonderful. Here's my contact information. I'm heading out. I threw this T-shirt in the dryer. I threw my sweats on, right? And I said, let me get up to 78.6 FM. Yomaton, positive vibes with Winsome, and talk to the family. So I'll tell you, I didn't expect things to play out. I was so hopeful. I had already made the decision. I already called Mr. G at 6:30 this morning. I was like, hey, it's not happening. It's not going to happen. It broke my heart because he had probably been talking about this all week. We'll just shift it to next week. But I'm not supposed to be here if things would have played out the way that they were designed. Or should I say written. But by design, I'm here. I had an amazing experience. And the classmates, the feedback was wonderful. And I would rather be nowhere else than here with you. So today, 78.6 FM, positive vibes at once. I'm treating this radio segment more like a diary of my week, man. I had a very, very unique week, very wonderfully, very rewarding, a very, what can I say? A lot of learning happened. There's a lot of growth happened this week. One thing I didn't get to do was hit the gym a lot. I think I hit the gym one time. I had to settle for some like sit-ups the rest of the week, right? Or push-ups, right? I had goals this week too. I was going to jump in there and do some more abs, get my abs tight. I'm 44. I don't want to look like it, right? Do some more cardio. I notice I'm eating too many burgers and my face starts getting fat, but I can't help it because I eat at a Tabi's. A Tabi's is amazing. So if you guys haven't been down to a Tabi's down in Gala, it's some of the greatest food I've ever had, man. I go and I get the double cheeseburger, man, and then they got jalapeno poppers now too. So if you haven't been to a Tabi's in Gala here in Yomaton, it's wonderful food. One thing I hope to do this weekend as well is go over to Oceanside Acupuncture and get a massage and sit in a little tank for a minute. They have an O2 tank, O2 chamber. It's pressurized. You can sit there and just kind of sort your thoughts out. And I really want to do that tomorrow, hopefully, before the weather gets really bad because, we're bracing for a typhoon. 78.6 FM, positive vibes of Winsome. So excited to be here. Can't wait to talk to you after the break. If you're tuning in, we're just talking about the week. We'll be right back after these breaks. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winston. That was a quick commercial break. Forgive me. If you guys are listening in, man, I'm here. Let me forget you. 78.6 FM, Yoma Time, Positive Vibes of Winston. We're talking about just the week, man. I'm looking at my laptop, see if I missed anything today. But I don't think that there's anything I haven't told you guys about. I was really excited going into this week, speaking with the Navy, having an opportunity to go to MCAS for Fatima. I'm teaching there's a course called Ammo 101. I have the opportunities with Ammo 101 to speak on, what is that? Happier no matter what. Now, if you're not tracking what Happier no matter what is, that's a class that we've been teaching that really digs into the SPIRE concept. And the SPIRE concept is your well-being. And I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that I knew a whole lot about well-being, because it's one of those things that I didn't understand as I was studying resiliency. And forgive me, so I'm typing to a friend as I'm telling you about this. But we didn't understand a whole lot about resiliency moving into the new year. And if you're listening and you're tracking what resiliency is and what we've been trying to do with it, resiliency is really how you cope with stressors, how you deal with things that happen in your life, and how you establish. Is it louder now? We're just doing a sound check real quick to make sure. Sound check, sound check. Is it good to go? Okay, cool. I was coming in too low a second ago. Thank you. So how we establish resiliency and how we establish self-care, self-love. And one of the biggest things that you may not realize, there's more than one way to take care of yourself, more than one way to recover, more than one way of being the best version of you. And it's one of those things that once you understand it, once you know, then you know how to move forward. And you know how to excel, how to pick up, and how to move. So if you're looking at where you are in your life and who you are, then you know that your spiritual well-being is important. Your physical well-being is important. Your intellectual well-being is important. Your relational well-being is important. And lastly, your emotional well-being is important. So we say, what are all these things? And I'll tell you, I've been in Japan for 4 years now. I've been here in Okinawa. And based on being here in Okinawa, I've learned so much about the culture and so much about my teammates from all over the world that are here serving with me. And one of the things that I've noticed is that we all handle life stressors and day-to-day differently. And we ask the question that when it starts off with the SPIRE model, it asks you about spiritual well-being. And sadly, a lot of people don't know what spiritual well-being is, because in the SPIRE model, and before we actually start briefing it, we're really thinking spiritual is one thing, when in actuality it's something completely different. And I'm going to break down some of the things with what spiritual is being present. One big word is being present. So if you're being present and you're experiencing things and you're embracing what's going on around you, right? Then those are the opportunities that you have to be great. Because you're not just living a mediocre life where you're just rolling aimlessly through the day. You're actually embracing every single day as a miracle. Albert Einstein said, you can live life in one of two ways: as if nothing is a miracle, or as if everything is a miracle. And if you see life as if everything is a miracle, then life becomes special. Life becomes beautiful. Every day is great. Every day is amazing. It's just, you want to get everything you can out of it. Like for me, it's not raining yet here in Okinawa, but I know the rain is coming, so I'm going to go and try to enjoy as much as I can before those drops start coming and flooding the ground, flooding the sky. The clouds start covering. Right now, it's still to the point where I can see all the way out to Iijima. I would love to be out there right now. You know, I picture all these things that I'd rather be doing, you know, as soon as I leave the booth, where I'd rather be, or where I'd like to be. Spiritual is being able to breathe. In the class that we were teaching this week, we talked a lot about mindfulness, right? And mindfulness was when you breathe and you stop for a second and look at what's in front of you. I told the team before each lesson, I said, clear the clutter. What does that mean, Winston? That means anything that was going on in your mind before, anything that you were thinking, experiencing, or feeling before, clear the clutter. And what that does is it allows you to go ahead and just breathe and just be present and just be in the zone of what's happening right now. Someone that I really trust and love said something that was really cool. He said, when you focus too much on the future, that starts to build anxiety. And when you focus too much on the past, that starts to breed depression. But when you focus on the present, what you have, and you appreciate what's going on right now, and you're grateful for everything in your life that's good, that's when life starts to become real. That's when life starts to become worth living, because you see how beautiful it is. And a lot of people move so fast. They're so focused on the future, or they're hanging on to the past. They're just keeping it from moving forward. But when you can be living blissfully in the present, it changes everything. And sadly, that's difficult for a lot of people to do. It's hard for them to see where they are and see the beauty in the struggle. It's hard for them to open their eyes and realize that each day is a miracle. And then we talked about that's the formal spiritual, is spiritual wellness, when you're able to just literally take a breath, breathe. And they have all these exercises like yoga and to making you stretch and be present with your body and the ground, or the books, the meditation exercises that actually have you connect to you in this present moment right now. And how you breathe is everything, because you're connecting with your body. And then you start talking about the informal ways of practicing mindfulness and spirituality, spiritual welfare, well-being. And what that is being able to disconnect. Like you saw me when I sat down, and when I was trying to disconnect, I was looking at the phone, and I was like, hey, I need to realize, let me pull this up, or let me pull this information up. But as I do that, I'm missing out on the timer in front of me, right? I'm not present with the time anymore because I'm focused on electronics. Well, it's the same thing in our everyday life. Are you able to disconnect to what's going on in your life? Disconnect. Are you able to shut down the electronics, the iPads, the information, so that you can focus on what's in front of you? Now, if you're not able to do that, if you don't have a space in your home, or a space that you can go to that allows you to disconnect from everything, then you're missing out on some of life that's right in front of you. Because these little things, they come a dime a dozen, right? Phones, electronics, iPads, Macs, all these things, they come a dime a dozen. But not every day is going to be the same. Not every moment is going to be like the last one. People ask me what I value, and my number one value is time, because I understand that time is the one commodity we'll never get back, and that's one thing that you can't spend in return. That's time is gone once it's gone. There's people I'd love to be spending that time with right now that I can't, so I try to make up for it in other ways, and it sometimes tears me apart inside to know that I'm missing time with some people that are very important to me. So I ask you, What are you doing to disconnect and appreciate the time that you have with the space that you're in, the location that you're at? Are you in one of those places where you're looking at all the things that aren't right in those spaces, or are you taking it all in, disconnecting to appreciate the things that are? The views, the places, the people, places, and things that bring you joy. Are you focusing in on those? The ones that don't involve electronics. All right? And one of the things that ties all this in is, are you savoring? Now listen to me when I say this, because a lot of people, what does that mean, savor? You're thinking I'm talking about eating a good steak, right? Well, I'll be honest with you. I use this as an example in class. There's a cafe right around the corner from my home. It's called Bloom Cafe. And I read this chapter in Dr. Tao's book, I'm Happier No Matter What. And I think I bought the book here a few months back, when I started reading it. And the chapter speaks on savoring. And when it comes to savoring, I looked at this plate, man, and I remember seeing the plate came out from the chef, and the plate just looked delicious, right? It had French toast, Okinawa style, French toast, bacon, eggs with just a little bit of cheese, and a little salad with the carrots and a drizzle of dressing. And that man, I'm telling you, that meal, when it came out, I'm looking at the chef in the kitchen like, man, I'm about to come kiss you, boy, because this one right here, this is about to be hidden. I knew that meal was going to be delicious. So remember how I described the plate, right? It's a white plate. They put the syrup right there in the middle of the plate. And then they had on the top right, it was the carrots and the salad, little shredded carrots, then the bacon, and then the French toast, and then the eggs, the cheese eggs. It had just a little bit of ketchup, like a little drizzle of ketchup for you to dip your eggs in. So I'm from Cali. We don't deal with ketchup, right? But look, I'm gonna tell you more about that plate and savoring right after this break. 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes with Winston. We'll be right back. .6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winston. Before we left, we were talking about savoring. And I can't tell you how excited I am to know that I'm able to share that plate. And I'm going to tell you why that's important to me when we left. If you're just now tuning in, I was talking about how the plate that I got from Bloom Cafe here in Okinawa, here in Yomatan, Bloom Cafe. I got this plate that had French toast, bacon, eggs, salad. And I had just read the chapter in the book, Happier No Matter What, that spoke on savoring. And as I'm reading this book and speaking on savoring, right, I'm really thinking I need to take this next meal in. And let me tell you what that means. I really need to savor this meal. So I looked at the meal I described to you, right? They had the lettuce salad with the carrot on top, shredded carrots with the little drizzle of dressing, and the bacon. The bacon was cooked. You can just look at it and see it wasn't too fatty. It wasn't overcooked. Then you had the eggs. Just enough cheese in it with a little drop of ketchup for you to dip in your eggs in. Then you had the French toast itself with a cup of syrup in the middle. So I started with the salad. I really wanted to start healthy, right? Because I knew what I was about to do to the rest of this plate. Salad, I wanted to take in the flavors. I really just wanted to appreciate the flavor of the salad. And I took it all in, man. It was really an exciting meal. I happened to really embrace the taste of this meal. And it was something that was fascinating for me. Because for the first time, I was actually savoring the meal. So as I move forward with savoring this meal, I said, I'm going to get done with the salad. I'm moving to that bacon. I started healthy, y'all. I started good. But that bacon was calling me. So I went on and started chewing on this bacon. And again, I wanted 30 chews. I'm looking for the person who cooked the meal. I'm looking in the kitchen like, man, you did it with this plate. And this plate may not have been any different than the breakfast that I've had before. But the fact that I had chose to savor this meal was what made it different. I was savoring the meal. So I continued. And as I continued to savor this meal, I looked to the next piece of this plate. The bacon was delicious. And I started diving into the eggs, the cheese eggs with the ketchup. Remember I told you about those cheese eggs with the ketchup? So I dived into the cheese eggs with the ketchup. And it was, man. I would never had ketchup on eggs before. So having the cheese eggs and the ketchup was an amazing experience. And then I went from the cheese eggs, finished off the bacon, finished off the salad. And I said, I'm going to finish this meal, which I went for 30 chews each bite. I'm going to finish this meal with this French toast. And so I took that French toast, man, and I took a bite out of it. Ooh, it was delicious. Just enough syrup, not too much. I didn't drench it. Just enough syrup to taste the texture and the recipe. Whatever they put into that French toast, the texture was delicious. The French toast was perfect with the syrup. It was so amazing. Now, I say all of this. You're like, why are you telling us about this plate and this food? You just gave us a 4-minute description, 5-minute description of a plate of food. And hopefully you're not missing the point. The point is, I savored this meal. Savored. I savored this meal to the point where I can describe in detail what this meal looked like, tasted like, felt like, smelled like in detail because I savored it, and it's a memory I'll have forever. I'm giving this to you without looking at a picture. I'm picturing it in my head. I teach this, and I have the picture in the background, and I'm always telling everybody, look at that plate. And as I walk, I don't look back, and I tell them about that plate. I said, the reason I can tell you so in detail and specific is because I remember it. I savored it. So I asked the question, are you savoring your relationships? Time you spend with those you love? The food that you eat? The experiences on this beautiful island, the locations, the times, the places that you go, the water. Is the ocean beautiful? Do you still see the water as every opportunity you see it is something beautiful to see, or do you see it as that's just another beach? That's just another ocean. Do you still go out there in awe when you're looking at how you can see clear down into Okinawa beaches, down into the water, down to the bottom, up to a certain distance? Are you still in awe? Do you still see it as a miracle? Like I told you before. That is the difference. That is the difference between if you see the world and you're embracing it and you're savoring these moments, savoring these relationships, savoring these times that you have with the people, places, and things that you love. Because when you reach back for these memories later, when you're trying to pull these out later and you're trying to understand why it's so important, why it's so beautiful, why it's something that meant something to you, you'll be able to pull from memory like I did that plate just a few minutes ago. Because you savored those moments, those times, those experiences. So that's the formal, some tips, not all, for formal mindfulness. Being able to disconnect, to connect. Savoring. There are more. I'm not going to spill them all on the radio right now, right? But 78.6 FM, Positive Vibes of Winsome. The first thing we cover is spiritual. Now let's talk about physical. What? Yes, your physical well-being. I tell a story often in the lighthouse, Zampa Lighthouse here in Okinawa. I love going to the Zampa Lighthouse. I'm making a point to go there today and experience it. I haven't been up there in a few weeks, maybe 2. And I'm going to go up the lighthouse today, and I'm just going to just take it all in. And when I'm up there on the lighthouse, what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk about, or not talk about, I'm just going to shut it all down, disconnect, take it all in while I can, because I hear there's bad weather coming. So I want to be able to appreciate and enjoy whatever weather is going on when I get there before it gets bad or before it changes. I won't even call it bad. The rain's not negative. Everybody looks at the rain as a negative. Typhoon is negative. It's a change of season. It's a different environment. Typhoons can be rough and dangerous, right? But when it rains, that's not bad. It's not negative. It's just rain. It's just not sunny. It's just not bright. It's a different season. It's a different energy out there. I love it. I've been on the lighthouse when it's been sprinkling. Not when it's been coming down ferociously, but I've been up there when it's been sprinkling, right? So let me continue. As I'm out there enjoying the lighthouse, I want to take it all in. I want to savor that moment. I want to savor the experience. And let me tell you what savoring the lighthouse experience looks like before I jump into the physical portion of it. Let me tie it all together for you. Going up there to climb those 99 steps. Every time you get to a certain level, it tells you, you're here. You look at the wall and the little picture says, you are here, right? You get 3/4 up and it says, you're almost there, right? And I love that. Every time I look for those signs, this reminds me how cool it is to be in that lighthouse. And I get up to 99 steps, and every single time the experience may look the same, but it's different. I got up those 99 and I look out. It's always a different view, even though it may be the same picture. It looks different. The sky's different. The clouds are different. It feels different. And I walk out there, and then one side of that top of the lighthouse, 99 steps up, you'll feel the wind hit you really strong. Right? Then the other side of the lighthouse, if the sun is up, you'll feel the sun a lot just beaming off of you. Right? And then there's an in-between side on both sides of this lighthouse, or as you walk around the circle, where it's kind of like just a little bit of wind and just a little bit of sun. Then the last one, where there's a little bit of wind and there's no sun. So this is walking around the top of the lighthouse, and you choose. I want to feel the wind hit me. I want to experience that more than anything else. So you go up, and I'm sitting in that space where the wind is just blowing. Then once I get enough of that, I walk over to where the sun is just on my skin. Just take it all in, the rays of the sun, just feel it. Then I want to be in that in-between phase or area where it's just enough sun, just enough wind. Just kind of looking at the water, looking out at the water as the waves move. I always go over there to see if I can see some sea life, right? It's really cool. Every time it's different. See if I can see some sea life out there, something moving. I always look for it. Then I go to the other side, and on that side, where there's no sun, no wind, very light. That's where I can see like the buildings and the city. I can see Okinawa. I can see Yomatan from there, right? I could look from up there and see Yomatan Village and the buildings and the hotels and the beaches. Go to the corner, I think, from where I'm standing at that point, I can see Gala, right? So all of these things, man, all of these experiences, and 4 different experiences from standing on the top of the same lighthouse. I never really thought about that before today. So you're getting 4 different experiences in one. But when you take it all in, I walked up there, I accomplished that physical task, and I'm walking back down. But watch this. I go up to the top, and as I'm approaching to the lighthouse, for example, I'm going back to go forwards, but as I'm approaching the lighthouse, there's a little old man. And he had to be old. I'm talking about he was very old. You can see it just in the shape and his face and everything. And he's walking, he's moving around the trail of the lighthouse, and he's moving. I mean, I'm like, wow, this dude's moving, right? I hope when I'm that age, I can move like that. So as I climb up the lighthouse, I'm not thinking about this old man anymore, right? An older man. I'm going up the lighthouse. And then when I'm coming back down, this is about an hour and a half later. I don't stay up there for 5 minutes. I'm up there for about 30 minutes to an hour and a half each time. Normally I shoot for an hour and a half to 2 hours. As I'm coming down the lighthouse, same old man, still walking around an hour and a half later. And as I'm coming down those 99 steps, I'm a little winded. And the old man comes up, he says, "Konnichiwa." And I say, "Konnichiwa." And he speaks English. He says, "Are you okay?" And I thought that was the most humorous and wonderful exchange, because I was like, what do you mean, am I okay? You're older walking around this thing for the last hour and a half. Are you okay, right? But he's full of energy. He's smiling. He's talking to me. I'm trying to catch my breath from these steps. And I say, "I'm fine. Thank you. Nice to meet you." We exchanged pleasantries. And I asked him the question because I'm in awe. And he tells me he gets up on Monday, Wednesday, Friday, every week. And he goes to the lighthouse and he walks around. On Saturday, he takes his wife and he walks around. He doesn't spend as much time on Monday, Wednesday, Friday as he does on Saturday, when his wife is sitting on this slab of rock in front of the lighthouse, smiling, waving at the time. She waves, and I wave back, "Hey, konnichiwa." It's the most beautiful exchange, and come to find out, this young man, and I say young now, right? 96 years old. Now, he can be, what do you call that? He can be just throwing stuff out there and lying to me, but he told me he was 96. Experienced so much. Can you imagine the stories? I didn't have my phone, I didn't save his number. I didn't get his number. Can you imagine the stories right here in FM Yomatan that this man probably could have shared with us? And he takes care of his body. He still gets up and goes out there and walks around that lighthouse, walks around those trails, brings his wife out there on Saturdays. And they both look strong, happy, loving. 78.6 FM Yomatan. We'll talk more about that after the break. Can't wait to talk to you. Be right back. 78.6 FM Yomaton, positive vibes of Winsome. And back, we were talking about the experience, the exchange with a couple in Yomaton, older gentleman, his wife. He was exploring around Yomaton and walking around Zampa Lighthouse. And I'll tell you, I chose, right? I chose to live in Yomaton Village for a reason. And I chose to live in Yomaton Village because I knew that it was beautiful over here. I got a chance to explore and drive and figure out where I wanted to live. And I chose Yomaton Village because it was literally probably the furthest thing away from the base. And I knew I was going to be forcing myself to immerse myself in this culture. And that was what I wanted more than anything else. I wanted to explore. I wanted to immerse myself in the culture. And sitting here in Yomaton, I knew that I was going to meet some wonderful people. And that's exactly what happened. And this is just another example of some of the wonderful folks that I met along this journey. And so to be able to just walk down a lighthouse and be greeted so kindly, I thought it was amazing and sweet that the young man, I call him young now, right? 96 years old, took the time to talk to me, share his energy with me, chatted up with me, and had me motivated, inspired to get up out there and to do something with myself, man. I came down vibing off that lighthouse and got into that conversation, and I was so motivated and energized after that. It was so kind, so sweet. His wife was so sweet. She didn't speak as good English as him, but she was still so sweet to me. So as I leave and he tells me this, and I'm thinking and doing all the research about why people in certain countries, locations, stay around longer than others, right? And when I did that and started looking at that, I realized that I am in a blue zone. And if you're not tracking what that is, those are the places in the world that people live longer than other nations. The U.S. life expectancy around 70s, right? Blue zones 90s to 100s. It's crazy. What do you do different? How do you take care of yourself differently? What do you feed your mind and your body? How do you treat your body? You treat your body as it's a machine, a beautiful machine. Or you treat your body just aimless, and whatever happens to it happens, right? Because all of these things make a difference. And I don't know if anybody else realizes that or even talks about that, but we talk about physical fitness. All these people in there getting big, getting swole, getting strong, right? I guarantee you, if those people are consistent and disciplined throughout the rest of their lives and maintain it, they're going to be around longer than others. It scares some people, right, to think about how much work they have to put in to be around longer. But after talking to this gentleman, man, I realized that if I do the work, if I focus, I could be around longer, not just for me, but for my kids, and be able to see their kids, my grandkids, to enjoy those stories. Now, people say, I tease and I joke all the time, say I'm an old man, but I still got a lot of living to do. And I didn't realize that for a long time. I want to say the last couple of journeys that led me here were all literally encompassed around that. And I have a lot more living to do. So I ask you, are you paying attention to your spiritual well-being? First piece we talked about. And are you taking care of your physical well-being? Are you doing those things? Are you moving? Are you recovering? Are you taking care of the things that matter to your body? Are you recovering and getting enough sleep? Are you getting what your body and your mind needs to recover? A lot of people don't know. And you have to test for accuracy. You got to know yourself. You got to be self-aware. You got to know what you need. That's physical. Intellectual. Are you feeding your mind? Are you curious? Are you going out there? Are you learning? Are you exploring new things? Are you interpreting new things? Are you watching things that feed your mind? You listening to things that feed your mind. You're reading things that feed your mind. A lot of people don't know. And it's sad. I have a lot of friends that have absolutely no idea if they are feeding their mind what they need to grow. And I'll tell you, if you guys have been following a lot of the studies that have been going on the past couple of years, you have read on this thing called neuroplasticity. And what neuroplasticity is, it's your mind's ability to continue to grow over time if you feed it the right things, right? Your mind can expand. You can learn new things. You can grow. You can develop new strengths, new abilities in your mind, mental abilities. You can do this. I think Jim Quick calls it superpower that we don't realize we have until we start actually pushing it. There's a thing called Mind Valley. It's a site out there where he actually goes and sits with different neuroscientists. He's kind of like a guinea pig just to kind of tap into different wavelengths of the mind and different experiences and different, different ways of thinking, channeling information, saving memory, all these things. I mean, I would love to, if I knew it worked, be a part of experiments like that where I can tap into different parts of my mind and think differently, evaluate differently, digest things differently, information, read quicker, read faster, read better, evaluate answers, right? So this is what he does, man. And these two sites, I told Jim Quick, he's literally Elon Musk's coach. So you're talking about the mental coach, the life coach for one of the most successful men in the world. This guy right here. So we don't speak about that stuff enough, man. The incredibleness and the unique beauty of the mind. It's intellectual. Are you feeding your mind what it needs to grow? Relational. Are you putting the love into others that you say that you love? Are you watering those relationships? That's your relational well-being. Are you watering those relationships that you say matter to you? Are you putting the energy in? You tell someone you love them. Are you showing them? Are you being open, kind, generous? Or are you allowing what's going on in the world to distract you from being able to care for someone the way they need to be cared for? I ask all of these questions because that is relational well-being. Are you taking care of the relationships that matter to you? And are you growing fruitful relationships, deep relationships, not surface? What's up, brother? Calling people brother, but you're not building a brotherly or sisterly relationship. Are you building those relationships deep to where people know that they can always come to you and you can always go to them, no matter where you are in the world? Do you have those? Have you established them? Have you secured them? And do you love them unconditionally? Do they love you because they know you? Because you're vulnerable enough to show you. Think about that for a minute, man. Relational. Then the last but not least, with the time we have left, is emotional. Are you paying attention to your emotions? Do you understand that your emotions are like gravity? You can't hold them in because it manifests itself in other ways. How are you dealing with your painful and with your pleasurable emotions? What are you doing to know how to handle them? You see, a lot of people, they think that emotions are either bad or good, but no, emotions are neutral. It's not what happens to you, it's how you respond. And if you're taking care of all the other well-being items that we've talked about, then being able to respond isn't difficult because you've got your control of your feelings, your thoughts, and emotions. You're self-aware. You have self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, social management. There's only two types of people that have no emotions, and I won't share that with you right here in this air. But I'll tell you, you're human. Emotions are like gravity. The information I share with you today isn't mine. I didn't create it, come up with it, and think of it overnight. This is Dr. Tal Ben Shahar. And Dr. Tal has been loving enough to share his book and allow me to share the concepts with all of you. 78.6 FM, positive vibes will Winsome. You are loved, and there's absolutely nothing you can do about it. I'll see you next week. Thank you.